All right. Let's go ahead and establish that comfortable, straight, aligned spine so we can kind of check in with our bodies this morning. Taking a deep breath in through your nose, big exhale through your mouth. Just close your eyes and settle into your skin. Start noticing every sensation, all of them. Start to breathe a little deeper, a little slower. And then check in with your thought processes. Check in with any emotions you might be feeling right now. Check in with what your energy feels like. Check in with how connected you feel. And bring your palms together in front of your heart. Let's just take a moment and set a personal intention for practice this morning. When you're clear about your intention, take a deeper breath in. Exhale through your mouth. Let's relax the arms, roll the shoulders back. Good. We're going to go ahead and move on to hands and knees and start with some cat-cows this morning. We're going to start off a little gentler, but we're still going to be moving. So inhaling to arch and exhaling to round. Loosening up your spine as much as possible. Just kind of lubricating it. And then on your next exhale, go ahead and take your first downward facing dog. Feel free to pedal the feet a little bit if you need to. And then find some stillness and try and lengthen your spine. Press your hips up and back. Press those heels down. And slowly walk your feet forward. Keep your knees bent. Let's hang in ragdoll for a couple of breaths. And then on your next inhale, we're going to come all the way up. Reach the arms up and overhead. Stretch up. Exhale, palms together in front of the heart. Inhale, reach your arms up and see if you can reach a little higher. And then maybe roll the rib cage back just a tiny bit. Hold that for another breath. And then exhale and fold all the way forward. Inhale, look up halfway. And exhale back down. We're going to step back with the left foot. So big step back. It's coming to that right foot forward lunge. Drop your left knee down. Let's raise the arms up and overhead. Tuck the tailbone under, sink your hips forward. So just taking a moment here to find the sensation on the front of your left hip. And then again, just within reason, lifting the rib cage a little higher. Maybe starting to roll the rib cage back a little. Hands on either side of the right foot, gaze forward for a nice flat back, and extend your right leg to open up the right hamstring this morning. If you flex the ankle and toes, in other words, curl your toes back towards your shin, you might feel some stretching in your right calf. And then we'll bend the right knee so that we can step back to plank position. Hold your plank for a moment. I want you to really engage your core. That means the entire midsection. Your abdomen is tight, the sides of the waist are tight, the low back is contracted to hold your spine in place. And then we're going to drop down knees, chest, and chin. Hold this for a moment. Pull the shoulders down the back, hug the elbows into the side. And then just untuck the toes, slide your arms forward, bring those big toes to touch, heels dropping open, and let's go ahead and lengthen out again in Sphinx. So basically trying to lengthen and lubricate our spine this morning. And then from here, we'll take another downward facing dog. This time, just try and find stillness and length. Take a big step forward with your left foot. Hold your lunge for a couple of breaths. And then we'll drop the right knee down, raise the arms up and overhead. Tuck that tailbone under, sink your hips forward. So as your hips move forward and you tilt your pelvis back, you should feel stretching on the front of your right hip. Once you get that, decide if it feels okay in your body to lift your rib cage a little more and roll it back slightly. Let's bring the hands to either side of the left foot, extend your left leg, and we'll get into opening up that left hamstring a little bit. Remember, if you flex the ankle and toes of your left foot, you might also feel some left calf stretch. Step forward to a standing forward bend. Inhale, arms come up. Maybe back. Exhale, palms together in front of the heart. Inhale, reach up. Reach back if it feels good. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, look up halfway. Exhale, back down. This time we're going to step back with our right foot. Hold your lunge for a moment. Remember that if you need to, you can certainly drop your right knee down. If you feel like you can hold a high lunge, then go ahead and come on up, tuck the tailbone, lift the chest up. And if you feel like you can, kind of lift the rib cage and roll back a little bit. Hands on either side of the left foot, gaze forward. Begin to straighten that left leg. So it's just a deeper variation of the first little sun salutation we did. Step back to plank. Take the vinyasa of your choice this morning. From your downward facing dog, you'll step the right foot forward up between the hands. Hold your lunge for a moment. And remember, it's okay to drop the left knee if you need to. If you can hold a high lunge, then come on up. Arms are up and overhead. We tilt the pelvis back, sink the hips a little bit towards the earth. Maybe lift the chest and roll it back slightly. Hands come down on either side of the right foot, gaze forward, and begin to straighten your right leg. Step forward to your standing forward bend. Inhale, arms up and maybe back. Exhale, palms together in front of the heart. Inhale, reach up, stretch back if it feels good. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, look up halfway. Exhale, back down. Let's step back with the left foot. You're gonna spin your left heel flat, adjust your feet if you need to. We're gonna come up into a warrior one. So as much as you can, get your hips to rotate forward. Arms are up and overhead, your left leg is straight, your right knee is bent. You're kind of trying to tuck that tailbone under and lift the chest and let the hips drop towards the earth as much as you can. From here, interlace your fingers behind your back. Squeeze your shoulder blades together and let's fold forward, taking our right shoulder to the right thigh for humble warrior. Relax your neck if you can and start to reach the arms up towards the ceiling. Come on up from that. Keep your fingers interlaced to try and keep your hips rotated forward. Lift your chest, and as you straighten your right leg, totally straight, keep those arms lifted behind you so that your spine stays straight as well, and try to lengthen forward over your right thigh. So it's kind of like you're trying to pull your chest and chin forward, and you should feel a fairly significant right hamstring stretch. Come all the way back up. Release the hands, bend your right knee, float the arms back up. Warrior one. Take a couple of breaths here. And then we'll take the hands to the mat and take a vinyasa. From your downward facing dog, you'll step your left foot forward, spin that right heel flat, and coming up, warrior one on the left side. You know to adjust your hips if you can. Float your arms up. Try and find some sensation in your right hip. From here, we're going to bring the hands behind the back, interlace the fingers, squeeze the shoulder blades, lift the arms. If you can, fold forward, left shoulder to the top of the left thigh for humble warrior. Neck is relaxing and the arms are reaching up. We're going to keep the fingers interlaced, come back up. Straighten the left leg, try and keep those hips aligned. Lift the chest, lift the arms, lengthen out over a straight left leg. So we're straightening the left leg, pulling the chest and the chin forward over the left thigh. Just trying to take our time and breathe our way out over that straight left leg. Come all the way back up, bend your left knee, release your hands, float them back up and overhead, warrior one, couple of breaths. And then we'll bring the hands down to the mat and take a vinyasa. From this downward facing dog, we're gonna drop down to the knees. We're gonna keep our thighs vertical. So your hips should be directly over your knees, and that's not gonna change. Be mindful of neck and shoulder issues, but we're gonna come into heart opening pose, what the modern yogis call puppy pose. So keep your thighs vertical and just start melting your heart down towards the mat as your arms reach forward. Forehead can rest on the mat if the shoulders are tight. Otherwise, chin and chest to the mat. Just come back up from that and come to kneeling. Completely optional if you want to turn your toes under or not. We're going to be moving into half camel. So we're working obviously on opening up the chest and extending the spine. So it's up to you whether you keep your toes turned under or flatten them out. Totally personal preference. However, we're all going to start the same with hands on the hips. Tilt your pelvis back, which means you're kind of pushing the pubic bone forward. Maintain that and then push the hips forward. You'll feel your glutes tighten a little bit, and that's okay here. But in order to keep the spine long, we want to create space in the lumbar spine. So the center of the chest really reaches up, up, up towards the ceiling. We're trying to elongate first and then kind of start to arch back from your sternum. If you feel like you can, your right hand will find your right heel, but it can stay at the waist if you need it to, and your left arm will reach up and back. You keep pushing your hips forward. You keep lifting your sternum towards the ceiling, and you keep reaching your left hand back, and you're breathing. Come all the way back up. Both hands on the hips. Tilt the pelvis back. Push your hips forward. Lift your sternum up. Decide if you're going to put your left hand on your left heel or not. And then keep pushing hips forward, sternum up, and begin to reach your right arm back. Keep breathing. Come all the way up from that. Go ahead and plant your hands on the mat and go straight to downward facing dog. Lengthen out your spine. Really, really push your hips back. And then try and press those heels down. Get the spine to lengthen. And then from here, we'll shift into plank and take a vinyasa. Now from this downward facing dog, you can either walk or jump forward to a standing forward bend. Inhale, reach the arms up and maybe back. And exhale, palms together in front of the heart. So our balance pose today will be dancer pose. And if you're able, I'd love you to do the open palm big toe grab so that your heart and chest can open. If you need to use a strap, you can use a strap. And if you can't rotate your palm up because of a shoulder issue, then you can grab the outside edge of the foot. So we're gonna stand on the right foot first. Your left hand would be out to the left with the palm facing up and the thumb facing back. You just reach your hand back and put your left foot in your left hand and raise your right arm straight up towards the ceiling. Tuck your tailbone under, lift your chest. Press your leg back to create space on the whole left side of the front of your torso. Come back up, release the left foot down. And we go for the other side. So we'll do the same thing here. Your right hand is out to the right, your palm faces up, you just reach back. Put your right foot in your right hand, raise your left hand up towards the ceiling. Tuck your tailbone under, lift your chest. Begin to press your right leg back to open up. I'm going to come back up and release. Feet together, hands together. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold forward. We'll look up halfway. And then back down. You can either walk or jump back to plank, flow through a vinyasa. Really, really lengthen in your down dog. And then drop just your right knee down. Rotate just the right foot out to the right. Let your left heel spin flat. And take your left hand to the ceiling. So you're in a modified side plank. The first thing we're going to do is just roll open. So kind of try and get your chest to face the ceiling. Let your left arm open out behind you. If you feel able, you can raise your left leg off the ground, bend the knee, grab the left foot with the left hand and roll open a little more, purely optional. Bring your left hand and your left knee back down. Turn the toes under, go straight back to downward facing dog. Lengthen your spine. Now you're going to drop just the left knee down, kick just the left foot out, and spin your right heel flat, taking your right hand to the ceiling, modified side plank, and then roll open. Let your chest start to rotate upward towards the ceiling. Let that right arm open out behind you just as much as you can. If you like, raise that right leg, bend the knee, and grab your foot. And open out a little more, purely optional. Bring your right hand and your right knee back down and go straight back into your downward facing dog. Once you've had a moment to lengthen out, shift into plank and take a vinyasa. Now, from this downward facing dog, we're going to take a big step forward with our right foot up between the hands. So you're in a lunge. You're going to go ahead and drop your left knee down, but keep your left toes turned under. We're going to raise the arms up and overhead, tuck the tailbone under, press the hips forward, just like we did earlier. Lift the chest and start to roll it back. right? So you're revisiting what you did earlier, but we're going to combine this kind of with the half camel. So your left hand now, if you can, is going to reach back to that left heel. The right arm is reaching back. Your hips are reaching forward. Sternum is reaching up. Come on up from that. Bring your hands down to the mat. Step straight back to downward facing dog to lengthen. And then step your left foot forward up between the hands. Drop onto your right knee, but keep those toes turned under. Arms are up and overhead. You're tilting the pelvis back, lifting the chest, sinking your hips forward. Start to lift your sternum and roll it back a little bit. And then if you can, you reach back to that right heel with your right hand. If you need to, you can have your right hand on the hips. You want to keep trying to get the hips to move forward. Come all the way back up. Hands to the mat. Step straight back, downward facing dog. Shift into plank and take one last vinyasa. From this final down dog, you may either walk or jump your feet forward. Have a seat with your legs extended. Find Dandasana. It's going to bring the hands right behind us. Press into the floor for a very straight spine with the head perfectly perched on top of it. Legs are very active, feet are flexed. Take a moment to check in. How's your body feeling? Mine's quite warm. Hopefully yours is too. I'm also feeling very alive. Hopefully you are too. Notice your breath. Notice your thoughts. Notice your emotions and notice your energy. And then keep your legs just as active as they are right now. On your next inhale, reach the arms up. And as you exhale, lengthen forward. So just like when we were doing that standing forward bend with our fingers interlaced, you're gonna move your chin and your chest forward and then just let the arms relax. So first we're lengthening out over our legs. You should primarily feel this in your hamstrings and not in your back. We're gonna get into the back in just a moment. Take a couple of breaths here, lengthening your chest forward. And then come back up. Now we're gonna round the back, so just be very mindful as you move. Tuck your chin into that little notch in your clavicle. Technically that's Jalandhara Bandha. It's one of the energy seals that we use. And then very mindfully and slowly start to curl and round down, and this should feel quite different. Now, you're primarily gonna feel it in your back. You might still get some hamstring sensation, but this is a lot more about stretching the back of the neck, the upper back, and even the low back. Come on up from that. Keep your right leg straight. Bring your left foot to the inside of your right thigh, and now just lean out over that right leg for a few breaths. So you did all of that backward bending. Now we're giving the body the balance of that, which is a lot of forward bending. Go ahead and come on up from that and just bring the sole of your right foot to meet the sole of your left foot. Let your hands be right behind your backside. Push into the floor for that straight spine. Press the knees out to the side and down. Just take a moment here. And then extend your left leg. Bring that right foot to the inside of the left thigh. And go ahead and lean out over your left leg. And we'll be here for several breaths too, so that you can just kind of sink in to this forward bend. And you do still want to keep that left leg active if you can. We're going to come up from that, and again, bring the left foot to meet the right foot. Now make sure you're on your sit bones, and this time, your hands are actually going to be on the floor, so don't grab your feet. But what I want you to do is that same action that we've been doing. First, we're going to lengthen, and then we're going to round. So your heels right now are relatively close to your groin. You don't have to pull them in, but they're not way out, because we're going to do this two ways. Lift your chest. Heart and chin pull forward. You might move a lot or you might barely move. It doesn't matter. It's fine. We're going to just lengthen as much as we can. Take a couple of breaths. Come on back up. Jalandhara Bandha, tucking the chin into the notch in the collarbone. Rounding down now. Walk yourself back up. Now, keeping the soles of the feet together, let's slide them way out in front of us. Like they're way out there, but the balls of the feet are still touching. All right, so if you look down, you've got this really long, narrow diamond shape in front of you. Clasp your ankles if you can. Lift your chest. So we're going both ways again. Heart and face move forward. So we're lengthening our spine. Now this time you might feel this a little bit differently. You might feel this in your sacrum. And as long as it's a subtle and pleasant sensation, you're good. So always monitor yourself, right? Just make sure that everything is feeling the way it should, because this is all about sensation. And you want to make sure that it's good for you. After you've had a moment to lengthen here, come on back up. And one more time, Jalandhara Bandha, tucking chin into chest. We curl down as though we're going to put our head on our feet, and it should feel quite different. Good. Come on up from that. Extend your legs out and give them a good wiggle. And now we're going to be massaging up and down the length of the spine, but please be mindful again of your own spine. If your back doesn't like a forward and back rocking motion, then please skip this and just roll onto your back and rock side to side, and we'll join you in a minute. But if you can, here's what we're going to do. We're kind of going to be rocking back and forth into, just for a moment, sort of a half plow, but we're going to be rolling back and forth. I'd like you to actually cross your ankles. I'm scooching up closer to the front of my mat so that my back is on the mat. You may want to double check that too. You can either grab your big toes or grab the outside edges of your feet, but my ankles are crossed right now. So from a sitting position, I'm going to rock back and kind of extend my legs like I would for plow, and then rock back up. If that feels okay to you, do that, or some variation of it for, 5 or 6 times, and then we'll just stay on our back and rock side to side. If this doesn't feel good, rock onto your back and stay there. Couple more times if you're doing the back and forth rock. And if you're already on your back, stay there because we're going to join you. So if you've been rocking back and forth, just stay on your back. Hug those knees in and rock side to side. So before we do our yummy twists and start ending things off, we're going to work a little bit in our bridge pose. We've been doing a lot of heart and front body opening. We've counterposed it with a lot of forward bending. And now we're going to go back to the final heart opener. We're going to be doing bridge twice. And the reason I tell you this up front is if you feel like you can, and it's totally optional, you guys, the second time you're welcome to move into a full back bend, upward facing bow, Urdhva Dhanurasana, if you want to, but you don't have to. You can do bridge both times. So please take care of yourself. So this first time, big toes touch, heels separate. Start with your hands by your hips. Let's start to lift the hips, the low back, and maybe even part of the mid back. I want you to really feel your sternum lifting up towards the ceiling. We've talked about that in most of our other poses today. And then if you want to, you can interlace your fingers underneath you and roll into the back of the arms, but we push through the heels. We lift our hips, but we also lift the rib cage. We're going to take 4 extra slow breaths here. Slowly lower down. Resist the urge to hug your knees in. Don't do it because we either have another bridge or a full back bend. So you decide what you're going to do. Just 3 or 4 breaths. Do your absolute best and up you go. Whatever you're in, lower back down, and finally you can hug your knees in. Rock side to side. Bring your hands directly on top of your kneecaps. Keep your knees together and kind of draw some circles in the air with your knees. This is just going to massage different parts of your low back and sacrum. Let's go ahead and change directions, go the other way. Good. And then gentle twist first. Just keep your knees together and bent. Drop them over to the right. And let your left arm open out to the left. Let your head turn to the left. Just take some nice deep slow breaths here. On your next inhale, bring the knees back up. As you exhale, drop them over to the left. Let your right arm open out to the right. Again, just a nice gentle twist. Head turns to the right if that feels okay with you. And on your next inhale, bring your legs back up. Hug them in and rock side to side if you want. We're going to keep the right knee hugged in. Extend the left leg all the way out into the ground and just keep your right knee pulled in deeply for a few breaths. So Pavanamuktasana, this is wind relieving pose, but after all of the back bending that you've done, this really releases that right side of the low back. So it's a worthy pose after the practice you've done today. And then we're going to transition this into just the right half of a dead bug. So bring your right arm to the inside of your right leg, grab the arch of the foot, flex your ankle, try and get your lower leg vertical, and then pull straight down as though you're trying to pull your right knee to the floor. Neck is relaxed, so the back of the head's on your mat. And we just take a few breaths here. You should feel this kind of in the back of your right thigh, so your hamstring, maybe a little bit in the glute or the low back. And then hug your right knee one more time. And if you're able to do a deeper twist, we're going to transition into it from here. But if you need to modify, you can bend both knees and do what we've already done. Right arm opens out, and you're just going to take that right leg across your body to the left. So it's a little bit of a deeper twist. You can hook the toes inside or behind your left knee or thigh, or you can let that right foot cross over. I want you to focus for a moment on having equal length, though, on both sides of the spine. That's part of why we do this way. With that left leg extended straight down your mat, you should have like full length on both sides. So there's no compression. Your spine is straight and it should twist relatively easily. On your next inhale, come on back up, and as you exhale, hug your right knee. You can bring your left knee up to meet it, and then we'll just exchange them. Your right leg is going to extend all the way out onto the mat, and you're just going to hold your left knee for a few breaths. So wind relieving pose on the left, also low back releasing on the left. And then we'll just transition this into the left half of your dead bug. So your left arm comes to the inside of the left leg. You grab the arch of the foot, flexing that ankle, and try and get your lower leg vertical, and then you pull straight down on it. You should feel some sensation in your left hamstring, maybe the glute, maybe the back. And then hug that left knee one more time. If you're able to twist from here, we'll just take it into a deeper one, but if you need to modify, bend both knees. So we're taking left leg across the body to the right, left arm is opening out to the left, and you're turning your head to the left. Right leg is reaching straight down the mat if you're not modifying, and you can either hook the toes of the left foot inside or behind your right thigh, or you can just let that leg go outside the leg. And on your next inhale, come on up. As you exhale, hug your left knee in. You can bring your right knee up to meet it. Rock if you like. Grab your ankles and wiggle if you like. Happy baby. You can do whatever you need to here for a few breaths. So any little movements that might feel good to you, kind of sneak that in. And then let's go ahead and just gently finish releasing our spine. So I'd like you to bring your feet flat onto your mat. Your knees are bent, your ankles and knees are together. And we're just going to coordinate with our breathing. And I'd like you to start this as a small movement, and you can make it a much bigger movement, a full-on twist if you like. But we're just going to exhale both knees a little bit to the right, and then inhale them back up and exhale them a little bit to the left. So just take your time with this. It's not like you win a prize by letting the legs flop over. Each time you exhale and drop your knees to one side, you can experiment with going a little deeper, a little farther. And just pay attention to your body. So it might prefer the smaller movements to the full-on twist, or it might not. But just be mindful of it, so don't let your ego get involved. Let your body tell you what it wants. And we're just following our breath, dropping knees to one side on an exhale, inhaling them up and exhaling them the other way. We'll go one more time on each side, or whatever you require to feel as though you're even. And then just still moving with the breath, the next time that the knees come up on an inhale, we'll exhale and actually drop them open with the soles of the feet together. And then we're going to inhale and flatten the low back by pressing it into the mat, and exhale and release. Let the curve come back into the spine. Inhale, flatten your low back, press that navel towards the floor, and then release on your exhale. One more time, inhale, flatten your back, press it down, exhale and release, and begin to extend your legs. Separate the feet, whatever distance feels really good for you this morning. And then go ahead and make sure glutes are relaxed. Really take a moment to double check with your spine. The low back should feel long and comfortable. The mid back is also very open, which means your shoulder blades are far apart from each other, and your shoulders are down the back, which means your neck feels long as well. So from the base of your skull all the way to your tailbone, things feel long and open and relaxed. Your hands are below the shoulders, your palms face up. Your throat is soft. Your jaw is relaxed. Your eyes are closed. Your forehead is smooth. And you have let go of all tension. Just settle in. And so noticing how the breath gets really gentle as your body reaches optimum relaxation. Just take a moment and really bring your awareness to your spine. And we're just going to breathe as though we're breathing up and down the spine. So I want you to imagine that you're inhaling through your nose, like you always do, but that your breath goes all the way down to your tailbone. And when you exhale from your tailbone all the way back up the spine, but out the nose. So you're still breathing in and out through your nose, but you're breathing up and down your spine. If you find your mind wandering away from this spinal breath, you just simply bring it back. Inhaling through the nose all the way to the base of the spine. Exhaling from the tailbone all the way back up and out the nose. Start allowing your breath to come back to the rhythm that you are most familiar with, which is in and out of the nose like you're doing, but also in and out of the lungs. And then just begin to notice how your body feels. Notice your breathing. Pay particular attention right now to thoughts and emotions. Heart opening practices can bring up certain emotions. Sometimes it's just pure joy, elation. Sometimes it brings up latent grief or unresolved emotions. And both of those are really valuable. And there is room for both of them. So we welcome in whatever comes up. And then notice what your energy feels like right now. Start to deepen your breath. Start to move your fingers and toes, and as you're ready, take a deeper inhale. Spread your fingers and toes, exhale with a sigh. Relax your fingers and toes. Inhale, even deeper stretch, just lengthen out. Exhale and relax. Bend your knees. You can hug them in if you like. Roll to your right if you can. And then use your left hand in front of your chest and press up into sitting. So just taking a moment to find a straight spine. You can sit however you like. What we're going to do for our breath work today is actually less of a breath and more of a bandha, which is a seal. Earlier during our practice, we tucked our chin into our chest, like this little notch in the collarbone actually, and that was Jalandhara Bandha, which is a chin lock. Now we're going to work with the flying up lock, which is Uddiyana Bandha. And the reason it's called flying up lock is because it will feel, if you do it correctly, it will feel as though all of your abdominal organs fly up into your chest cavity for a moment and then relax back down. So what we're basically doing is creating a vacuum in our lungs. And as you know, nature abhors a vacuum, and so things will move up and then release back down. I'd like you to think of this as a really nice morning massage for your internal organs, right? They don't get enough love from us. So here's the deal on this. You're going to breathe in through your nose. You're going to breathe out. Doesn't matter if it's through your nose or your mouth, but you have to breathe all of your air out, and you must be very diligent not to breathe back in and then lift the rib cage. And it's just for like 1 or 2 seconds. Then you relax your rib cage and you breathe in. So what will happen is after you've breathed all of your air out, I would like for you to do Jalandhara Bandha, the chin lock. Once you're empty, drop your chin into your chest. That'll keep you from sneaking in any more air. And if you're sitting cross-legged, you'll push into your thighs and lift your chest. If your legs are extended or tucked under you like mine are, you'll push into your thighs to lift your chest. And you should feel, regardless of your size or shape, you should feel your belly kind of go concave, right? You're going to feel all of this stuff sort of lift up. You're going to feel really thin through the midsection for a second. You don't hold it for very long. Then you just relax, let your belly relax, and you breathe in. We're going to do this 3 times. I'm just going to leave you at it, all right? So don't worry about my cue. I want you to do this 3 times. And when you finish out, just rest with your hands on your knees or thighs, all right? 3 Uddiyana Bandhas. So as you finish out your 3rd one, excuse me, just pause for a moment and kind of notice how you feel. If that made you warm, yep. If it made you feel more energized, yep. If you're not even sure if you got it, that's okay. Just kind of take a moment, settle into yourself again, checking in with your body, your breath, your mind, your heart, your energy. So we're only a couple of days past that beautiful full moon, the pink super moon, first super moon of 2021. So the lunar energies are still really strong. So that's a very solar kind of, it's not really so much a breath as it is a bandha, but it works on the solar plexus and it does warm us up and bring a little bit more energy in. So if you felt that, congratulations, that's a really good thing. Let's go ahead and bring palms of the hands together in front of our hearts. Just take a moment in gratitude for that beautiful full moon, for the beautiful sun that rises for us every single day and asks nothing in return. A moment of gratitude for the earth and all of its inhabitants, and gratitude for these bodies that we live in, this practice of yoga, and this breath that we're breathing right now. Take one more huge inhale. Exhale with a happy sigh. We bring our palms to our foreheads, and it just reminds us to stay present. We can't be grateful if we're not in the moment. Bringing palms to the lips, it reminds us to speak our truth, but in a way that can be heard, so basically with kindness. And we bring our palms to our hearts, and it reminds us to keep our hearts open. So our practice today was a heart-opening practice. The more we can keep our hearts open, the more compassionate we can be, and the easier it is for love to flow both ways. Thank you guys for joining me this morning. It is always a pleasure and an honor. Namaste.